And just to add, in terms of some of the research we do know about that, many of the children in foster care who have disabilities have many, many placements. So they move from foster care to foster care. So it isn't uncommon to have 6 to 8 placements during their time in foster care. And they're very, very rarely adopted, and they would hardly ever be put on an adoption list for pursuit of permanent placement. So I think those are other aspects to that point.
Rob, your question about what sort of reactions our advocacy engenders, it was a real memory-inducing question for me. That in broad strokes, very wide range of reactions, very wide range, and across the different people who were there to react, and even within individuals, there would sometimes be a very wide range. It is extraordinary, actually. I think where I saw the widest range is within actually the bioethics community. Yeah, if I'm looking at it from a philosophical standpoint, I had some excellent assistance from them, and some of the most disappointing experiences in my life with them. And my perspective is going to be a bit different when I had these experiences compared to now, because at the time I had no idea there was that in the late 20th, in the 21st century, in the early 21st century, we were actually having a eugenics movement in Canada. The thought never entered my mind or imagination. It didn't hit me until I saw it with my own eyes. And when you're confronting people on something like that, it's a pretty controversial sounding issue, and you get a wide range from offense to intense, condescending, we're here, you're there, you listen to us type reactions. One of the more extreme reactions was how when we were trying to implement every intervention necessary to keep Katya alive through that critical early period, one of the key doctors at the hospital actually said he had had enough of it, and he intended to do something about me because I was being cruel to my daughter, keeping her alive. So there was an intimidation, and he knew this was baloney. I mean, this is a celebrated author in neonatology. He knew the truth, but he used intimidation, absolutely. That was one of the reactions. On the positive side, some of the nurses and a couple of the doctors were extraordinary human beings that just, you could see their humanity coming through, and people that would not be capable of overt dehumanization. So that there are very encouraging moments. Some excellent people, like even at that hospital, I think the majority are wonderful people. It's an amazing facility, but you have a small percentage of very influential people who are lacking in integrity. It's that simple, and they are dangerous. They are dangerous to a certain segment of our society, the most vulnerable. You know, it's said that the societies are historically judged by how they treated their weakest members, or I prefer to say their most vulnerable members. I think individuals should be judged that way too, and I think they are. And it was a wide range. I'm sorry, I'm getting tangential here. I'll give you a few examples. One physician I remember who was trying to have an academic medical approach to confronting me on my confrontation and advocacy for Katya. I remember her saying that in her country, she was from, I think, an Eastern Europe country, that they have come to the point where they believe the doctors act like the hands of God in making these decisions, which, you know, the bioethicist was pretty upset about, obviously.
Is that supposed to be the bioethicist's role?
The bioethicist, oh, wonderful experiences, truly, and very negative experiences. And there was such a duality. There is such a duality I observed in the bioethics system that it scared me. It made me fear or grieve for humanity. Mind you, an observation my wife made is that it's not even set up correctly. Like a bioethicist at a hospital actually reports to the people that dictate policy about how to treat, how to basically further this eugenics movement. That's, I think, what's really going on. And I'll give you an example. When Katu was a few years later in a very critical situation where they had made some errors and put her in the wrong direction medically, and I had to build a case medically for why this was the wrong intervention and it has to be stopped, and I asked the bioethics department for their assistance. They allowed her to come to the meeting with the VP of the hospital and one of the key directors there, medical directors, that, you know, again, these are celebrated people known across the country. And I had a chart on my computer to prove by TDM levels and the rate of seizures and all that, that they were doing something that was going to kill our daughter if they kept this up potentially. And they had to go in a different direction. I turned my computer around, notebook computer, to show it to this very high-level medical director. She slapped it down. I couldn't understand why the bioethicist who was sitting at the table never said anything the whole time. I would even ask her questions, not a word. Well, I don't know if I should say this publicly, because there was a reason why she didn't. You know what? I'm going to say it. She was told not to. She was told not to say a word. So what is the value of a bioethicist? It's like if Hitler had bioethicists, what would they have accomplished? I think there's a flaw in the system that has to be addressed, and then you'll get different reactions, the sort that you're talking about. I think we can correct the dynamics that happen there if they're analyzed openly and people in positions of power are made to follow standards of integrity that they're just not following. In that case, it wasn't for developmental reasons or disability reasons. It was because of there was a cover-up going on. They made a big mistake. They almost killed Katya, and this was the way they were going to deal with it. So, and I know that happens also with non-developmental delayed children. If you look at the Lisa Shore story, there's a lot.
I would say my answer is the same. It was so broad, and it's interesting because when I got my gynecologist, I felt lucky. And then when I realized that the things that I recognized that we wanted for treatment, we just felt lucky to have a doctor who would, you know, see me through the pregnancy, but still would make decisions along the way. Where our change came was actually when we entered neonatal intensive care, and after Kyle was born, all of a sudden the care was amazingly aggressive. They would do anything to keep him alive. So again, it was broad, and not only I would say in the medical community, I think reaction even from that I struggled with personally was from family and friends about our decision. And some of that has been in retrospect, actually. I don't think I truly even understood it at the time, but has certainly come. Kyle's now 14, so it's certainly come out in the last 14 years.